So I've heard a lot of statements over the many years, and it's all the same thing, which I just want to throw it out there. There's a lot of material online with regards to extreme narcissists, manipulators, et cetera, and it all does. There's absolute tie back to Brian at the end of the day, or at least some sort of relevance and pertinent. So just call it relevance. Okay, just keep things short here. What I'm getting at is this is just one more example. It is in its subtle form, which is why I always say, and this is really a memo for anybody that works with Brian in the future in terms of team, also for oversight security that has to monitor behavior across entities. And monitor either, especially incumbent partners, but also because you have two major problems in terms of security, not problems, but two major focus areas. You have inside threats and outside threats. Okay, and they're both. I've seen just as much inside threat as I've seen outside threat. Okay, in fact, probably more, to be honest with you. But getting back to memos like what was his name, Chuck? What the hell is his name, man? Chuck McDowell. Allegedly a couple $100 billion companies, whatever. Which is not insignificant. I mean, don't let me downplay that. Okay, I'm done by any means. What I'm getting at is that in terms of forward-looking success, is that type of advice is generally not applicable. Okay, same with like crap, like whatever it was that came across the feed this morning with like Ramos, like just cheap shit, like cheap inspiration. Oh, work hard, Greg. Like fuck you. You're dumb. If anybody, it's not to demean the parties themselves that put that, because keep something in mind is that a lot of the parties out there delegate to third party whatever, and they just create whatever shit and put it out there. Okay, that's another factor in itself. Okay, you're not getting legitimate. That's one of the reasons that I usually create videos myself. And if you see my video, see my face, whatever, it's not AI, it's me. Okay, that's a factor in itself is what I'm getting at. But getting back to the material and the underlying content, whatever else, is that it's not relevant advice, is what I'm saying. Okay, people cling too much to the they have some sort of bullshit, like, oh, I should be so proud of myself. I got to, what I'm getting down to is it comes down to cause and effect. Okay, and I've mentioned the statement too. It sounded like I was bad mouthing, like, what the hell's her name? Shelby Sapp, whatever it was. Like, it's not that I'm bad mouthing. It's that what I do is in the course of due diligence, it's the same fact. It's the same underlying factor of due diligence. You immediately sniff out, criticize anything. Okay, automatically. That's a due diligence. It's not to be a dickhead about shit. It's just that my filter is up automatically. Call it like the human antivirus. Okay, where your filter is up automatically. You sniff shit out immediately. Okay, before I even hear an offer for something, before I hear anything on anything. Okay, the first things I'm looking at is your behavior and everything else, because that tells me immediate clues. I'm looking at your behavior, your environments, your immediately looking for whatever story that you gain success in, etc. Those are all factors that you start to build a bigger picture very quickly. Okay, what I'm getting at is that especially in the course, especially I've seen the last 17 years or so since I've had like various social media and whatever, is you pick up on these stories, and this has been especially notable since the hostile takeover in 2006. Okay, because it's all media driven shit. That's what I'm getting at. Okay, and that's a very important factor. I'll mention that in another memo or video, whatever later. But and how and why the media has been a nuisance in itself in some respects. But what I'm getting at is that it comes down to cause and effect. Okay. Oh, I did X, Y, Z. Therefore, I should be proud of myself when I make it. Like it's what most people don't realize is that you had underlying support somewhere. Okay. Most people don't even realize that. All right. If anybody wanted you not wealthy at the end of the day, they just fucking step on you. Okay. Like seriously, kill you or step on you, one or the other. All right. That's how it is in the real world. Right. So, with regards to that's why I don't cling to I call it salesman's logic. Like there's another guy that I just recently found here, some Miami guy, Vladdy, whatever the fuck his name is, Vladdy Daddy. I don't know. He's pulling in like 20, 30 mil or something allegedly. Anyway, but the point is, he's big on like don't take your advice from fat guys. Well, yeah, duh. Like that should be obvious. Okay. But you cling. I've dealt with a lot of that shit. The pretty boy like clinging, and that's what I was getting at with the media shit. It's all pretty boy bullshit. Okay. Where it's salesman's logic. Oh, if I do A, therefore I get B, and that's just not how life works. Okay. It just doesn't. So that's why you have to absolutely, once you recognize that and acknowledge that, okay? Otherwise, if you don't acknowledge it, if you don't recognize it, and if you don't recognize it and you don't acknowledge it, okay, you will be here for the rest of your life going nowhere. Because cause and effect is not what you think it is. It's superficial shit, okay? Most people don't even realize it. They walk through their whole life completely oblivious to it, okay? And I could be here for the next 1 to 2 hours citing example after example after example after case example as to how and why that's true, okay? Take my word for it. Maybe I'll even create a video on that at one point in time, okay? There's enough evidence there to support that is what I'm saying. What I'm getting at is that even in the case of when they murdered Richard Wishaw in 2006, these are all long-running stories, okay? So I won't tell you the events that led up to that specific, we'll call it murder event, but it used biologics ultimately, is how the two, obviously, skirt by the traditional aspects of law and make it plausibly deniable. That's a factor in itself. I don't want to go into that great discussion right now because that puts you into dangerous territory for other factors that aren't even law-related. Seriously. It's like nothing to do with law at all. But what I'm getting at here, what should be immediately suspicious to you is that with that photograph of Richard Wishaw on his deathbed, that was originally the family office at home, okay? Like the home office, okay? And so there's more stories with that tie back to Epstein and like all kinds of other dumb underlying stories, okay? Is what I'm getting at. But there's very vaguely, let me put it that way, very, very vaguely, okay? In the almost laughable of sense, okay? But what's not laughable, obviously, that I'm getting at here is that from a single-family office perspective versus multifamily, okay, you've got, ultimately, you have three generations. Brian is a third-generation Wishaw at the end of the day. Okay? You had Walter Wishaw, Richard Wishaw, then Brian. Okay, and what I'm getting at is in terms of single-family offices, they disrupted that by putting him under duress and handing over last minute a trust fund to a female descendant. And there's only two descendants. One is Brian, the other is a female descendant. Obviously, the sister. Okay, Brian's sister or his daughter. It should become immediately obvious in terms of how family offices, in terms of descendants, whatever, are structured, where you get a major disruption to go from male, oh, all of a sudden female. Wait, hold on here. What? Something's not right. Okay, you should, when you look at the legality of a single family, the actual structuring of a single family office versus a multifamily, and just basic descendants at the end of the day, which are very similar in nature to royal families, okay, which has almost been a laughable joke in itself, in many respects. The very obvious fuck you at the end of the day to Brian was to, and this is not this. There's more evidence to that goes way many years before that. In fact, the original, one of the original things that I've mentioned before is that they disrupted Brian when Brian was 18. I believe, yeah, I think it was 18 years old. The family took one vacation. Like, that was about it. Like, they didn't travel much. Okay, Brian, that was never Brian's, directive. Brian loves to travel. He likes to go out and explore, travel, talk to people, do whatever. And it's like, but what I'm getting at is that they went to Cancun, they came back, and his mother immediately started getting credit card flagging, whatever, for a shoe store, notably DSW is what I'm getting at. So this was, and what happened was an identity theft factor. Okay, what I'm getting at is that most people don't realize or recognize is that this is a coded system. It's a gamified system that's been in place for a long time. So DSW is actually DGW, or disrupting generational wealth. These are the underlying subtle attacks that were leading up to Richard Wishaw to the final, not even the final, that was just the next big blow to Brian, was to disrupt heritage, more or less, and traditional, which didn't result in anything good in the last 20 years, has not resulted in anything positive, especially for Brian. Okay, in any way, shape, or form. So much so that most people don't recognize is what they're just thinking. They're thinking or talking about Brian and his family. I'm not talking about Brian. I'm talking about a trust fund that is also international, is national and international, and extends internationally, and also has, because of the nature of the funds, have massive repercussions on populations over time. Okay, and they have. It's proven itself in the last 20 years. Okay, you've seen it through all the media-driven campaigns, notably anything that has been minorities, women, blah blah blah, all that shit. Okay, is on. Those were hijackings with Elizabeth Wishaw, who was the trustee originally, who was the named trustee under duress. Okay, but traditional familial heritage, that should have never happened, is what I'm saying. Okay, but even more so in the last 20 years, something that should scream emergency, something that should scream in your fucking head as a high net worth person, is that Brian has not been able to secure a lawyer or lawyers or law firm, plural, to go after the recovery of that, okay, or any court system for that matter, domestically in the United States. Now, not coincidentally, there's additional factors of consideration here, including sanctions and whatever else that have occurred over time to account for that. Okay, I won't go into the deep depths, but it should be obvious to you. Okay, so those are some of the memos that of discussion that I really don't have too much more to add to this at the very moment. That was not a very well. This is off the cuff. This was not a scripted